Okay. So ang tanong ko sa iyo, Secretary Llamas, is are we witnessing the official end of the unit team and the beginning of a purge? So your argument is the moment na lumabas itong coup plot discussions, that accelerated the process to the next level. Kumbaga yung sinabi ni, 'di ba, ni Hemingway na it starts slowly and then suddenly you lose everything, right? Yung parang biglang slow and then suddenly everything gone. Is this what's happening over the past week since I returned from Greenland? Nadala ko lahat ng lamig ng polar North Pole dito sa politika natin.
Well, yung nakikita kasi natin sa telenovela, no? May bawat episode may climax eh. 'Di ba? Starting last year pa lang eh, no? So hindi siya talaga actually slow burn, no? May mga bumps along the way eh, no? Bawat episode may climax. Tapos bababa na naman, tapos puputok na naman, no? Immediately after the election, nagsimula na yan eh. No, when GMA didn't become speaker, narinig mo na yung grumblings, di ba? When Vic Rodriguez was sacked, no, as executive secretary together with the spokesperson, no, nakita mo na yung grumblings. Nung nangyari yung pagbabago sa Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces na parang arbitrary, na nagreklamo yung acting DND secretary, nakita mo na naman yung mga grumblings, no? So, maraming episodes na pumuputok eh. Ang pinakamalalaking putok nung nangyari yung tambaluslos, nung natanggal si GMA as a senior deputy speaker, no? At the worst
as deputy speaker na rin. So, and is this a purge?
Yes, no?
Laban ba yung kabila?
So nakita natin itong unraveling ng unit team, no? Hindi talaga siya dahan-dahang nangyari. May mga sporadic na explosions, no? At nitong nakaraang 2 buwan, mas matindi yung mga explosions eh. Nung tinanggal yung hundreds of millions of intelligence and confidential fund, no? Nung naglabas ng statement si Digong calling for a tax boycott, civil disobedience, that's almost sedition, ha? That's almost sedition.
Actually, that goes under the definition almost.
Nung nagsalita si Banatbay, their number one blogger, calling for people power, at 2 days ago, no, si Maharlika, another one of their main bloggers, ang sinasabi, no, bilang na ang oras, no? Bilang na ang oras ni BBM,
no? Version ko ng Maharlika, by the way.
Yan. Bagay sa'yo, bagay, no? So, tapos itong statement ni Chief of Staff, Browner, no? Imagine the Chief of Staff, no? Binabanggit ang destabilization at saka coup d'etat in the same speech na na-misquote daw siya, no? So, nung dumating ka talaga, nag-scale up ito. Kaya meron ka talaga mga negative energies na bitbit, no? Galing sa Greenland or wherever ka nang galing. Ito nag-accelerate na mabilis, no? Itong mga pangyayari ito, at yung nangyari today, yung tinanggal si Deputy Speaker Arroyo as Deputy Speaker, at ang pinalit sa kanya yung kanyang inaanak si Tony Pret Albano. Talagang kiniskis sa mukha niya, no? Yung pangyayari, no? At ikalawa, yung statement ni Joel Villanueva, ni Chis Escudero at saka ni JB Ejercito na i-affirm namin yung pagtanggal ng intelligence at saka confidential fund nung mga hindi naman karapat-dapat na magkaroon yan, no? So ito na yung last blow, no? Dahil parang kung totoo yung sinabi nila, wala nang compromise sa Senate. Wala nang compromise sa BICAM, no? Yun yung nangyayari, no? At kahapon nagsalita si ex-President Duterte, yung coup d'etat dapat pag-usapan publicly, no? Pero mo isang lawyer, isang ex-president, no, sinasuggest na pag-usapan ng coup d'etat publicly, no? Coup d'etat is a military takeover, no? Right. Hindi lang yan illegal, yan ay highly illegal, no? Tapos gusto mo pag-usapan publicly, no? Saan ka ba nag-aral ng pagiging abogado, no? Sa bagay, ang kanyang expertise, ang kanyang doctorate, EJK. So hindi kinakailangan ng batas doon, no?
but Boss Ron, I mean, let's keep yung mga ka-R natin, let's keep things in mind. I mean, we had two lawyer presidents in the past half a century. One had the coup d'etat very successfully again himself, Otto Golpe, and had a new constitution and dictatorship. The other one, not competent enough to pull that off, but he's still trying, even if he's not in power. So maybe there's something with our legal training sa bansa na kailangan natin pagbisitahan. Or the lawyers that became our president are the problematic samples, no?
Yes.
But let's go back to this. So what you're saying, hindi ito marites lang. You think that there are some elements within the armed forces who are the former
Richard,
because napot sila? Because napot Digong?
Yeah, tingin ko may apat na pinaghuhugutan itong mga rumors na ito na mukhang hindi naman rumors, no? Dahil chief of staff na nagsabi, kahit nag-backpedal siya. Una, ay may mga complaints naman yung military tungkol dito sa mga nangyari last year. Yung mga grumblings, yung mga hindi na-promote, yung mga natanggal. Hindi yan mga middle level, mga high ranking yan, yung nagkagulo, di ba, sa chief of staff, yung nagkagulo sa DND, etc. Tapos meron pang mga Bucor na hinahunting hanggang ngayon, merong head ng PSG na nakasuhan ng murder, no, etc. etc. So maraming mga grumblings na naghalo-halo na on a personal individual basis. Ikalawa, yung kaso ng electoral fraud na pinamumunuhan ni Secretary Rio, former Secretary Rio na dating general, no, na pumirma sa isang resolution, maraming military officers, 'di ba? Kung nabasa mo yung resolution na 'yon, no? Questioning yung resulta ng eleksyon. Tapos ikatlo, itong mga galit doon sa pension, yung MUP framework or policy ni Secretary Jokno na sinasabi niya, this will cause a fiscal crisis. The elephant in the room, no? Well, hindi pa natuloy yan, pero maraming galit yan dahil binigay mo na babawiin mo, entitlements, no? Pension, salaries, at ikaapat, itong mga nangyayari na mas political between the longest president na naging presidente, si Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, 9 years, at saka yung presidente na nagbigay ng maraming benepisyo sa military at saka sa pulis, si Duterte, na sa ngayon ay nakasandal sa pader. So yan yung pinaghuhugutan nitong mga rumors na ito. At I'm almost sure may nagdidikit-dikit dyan into not only a political narrative, kundi into a political project. Kaya sineryoso ni Chief of Staff Browner. Ang problema kay Chief of Staff Browner, mukhang nauna yung statement bago yung framework. Usually, pag lalabas mo yung mga threats na yan, dapat nakapaloob na yan sa isang strategy o isang framework. Mukhang in retrospect, nauna yung announcement kesa dun sa framework at saka strategy.
Yes, Secretary Anyo came in. Kaya
yun, mas experience yun. No, sinasabi niya, ang tingin ko, ang message ni Anyo kay Browner, ayusin muna natin bago ka maglabas ng ganyan na unang-una, iba ang desktop, iba ang coup. No? ayun yung kwan. So
Sir Browner kasi spokesman yan dati. So I don't know, maybe he has this kind of
yes, no?
instinctive way of expressing things siguro na
political. Or pwede rin na nilabas niya yan to warn yung plotters na alam namin yung ginagawa nyo, umatras na kayo, kung hindi ay tutugisin namin kayo, no? Pero meron ding isang option na less probable but still an option. Pwedeng pinainan siya. Pwedeng pinainan siya na may nagpa-plot para yung mga plotters ay ipaabot sa gobyerno, wag nyo nang gawin yung mga yan, yung ICC na yan, wag nyo nang papasukin. Wag nyo nang ituloy yung pagtanggal ng confidential or else magkakagulo. Pwedeng may ganung reverse trap. Ang tawag dyan sa intelligence, counterintelligence, reverse trap. Diba? Yun yung nangyayari. So, ito yung dalawang possible option dito, no? At tingin ko mas probable yung unang pinanggit ko na it's a message to the plotters na alam namin yung pinaplano nyo, wag nyo nang ituloy or else ganito ang mangyayari.
Shot across the bow. No? I mean, it's a shot across the bow. I mean, it's a signaling na hindi kami we're watching what's happening. So what you're saying here is that it's a confluence of many factors, no? You have a former at least deputy chief of the armed forces and former secretary who's now openly questioning, I mean not now, for a while, openly questioning the integrity of the election process. Then you had the of course, some of the rumblings and reshufflings that happened earlier this year in the arms of the Philippines, which also had to do something with earlier appointments when Vic Rodriguez was still there, at least based on some of the reports I'm getting. And then, of course, there's the pension reform issue, which for me, given how sensitive this issue is, hindi ba kung ikaw si Marcos Jr., medyo mag-ingat ka makipag-away dun sa mga iba na may influence pa rin siguro dahil hindi pa naayos itong pension reform issue. I don't even know Jokno will be around to oversee this process because this has to be coordinated between Jokno and Gibo Chodoro. I mean, two cabinet members.
In fairness, Richard, bitin pa yan. Wala pa diyang final decision. May ibang proposal, halimbawa si Secretary Gibo Chodoro para dyan. Diba? Ayaw nila niyan eh. Tapos hindi natin alam kung anong kinabukasan ni Secretary Jokno. Maraming marites na siya ay papalitan eh. No? Pwedeng compromise din yon, no? Dito sa mga grumblings, dito sa mga galit. No? Kaya marami ito.
Running for Senate. So yun din eh. You need strong secretaries to oversee this eh. You need a tag team there. Diba?
Yes. Kaya, pero you have two powerful ex-presidents. No? Na marami pa ring utang na loob dyan within and outside the military establishment. Pero from my vantage point, ang tingin ko, Richard, yung kulang dito ay yung mga nasa loob, yung chain of command. Dati kasi may mga organization sa loob eh. May RAM, may YOU, may Magdalo, may SFP. Ngayon wala yan eh. No?
So, professionalized.
Oo, mas in a way, no, in a different tone, parang professional ngayon, no? Pero alam mo naman sa ating bansa, there can be triggers eh. May mga triggers na pwedeng mag-accelerate. Katulad ditong pension fund, no? Pag magkamali diyan ng handling ng gobyerno, that can be a trigger, no? Within the chain of command. Within the active military.
So the reason I'm not pushing back exactly against what you're saying. I mean, these are factors I've been looking at, especially the pension reform. Ako naman sa pension reform issue, if US is strongly there for BBM and US can support the AFP through other means like expanded foreign military financing, that could be the anchor, right? By the way, we're not supporting US getting into the game. I'm just explaining that it's not like BBM doesn't have a backing of a superpower. And it's not like the US does not have an interest na hindi makagulo-gulo itong AFP because AFP is very important partner for them in fighting against China, dealing with the Taiwan issue, etc. Kaya nga for me, aren't we kind of contradicting ourselves in terms of saying, di ba conflict avoidance si BBM? So what isn't this playing with fire? Or talagang wala eh, his hands has been forced? Is this what we're saying here?
Well, yung kanyang conflict avoidance can be part of the problem. No, dahil ang tingin sa kanya ng iba ay halimbawa ang main focus ng tira kay Martin eh. Pero ito ay hindi pwedeng mangyari nang at the very least alam niya. No? At itong pangyayari sa Senate, kung mapa-finalize na yan, at yung ICC, may blessing na yan. Kung mangyayari yan, na mukhang nangyayari na. No? Which means na you can be conflict avoidance for a while. Pero sa dulo, no, there are forces out to get you, no? At halimbawa,
you invite crisis, right? In this invites crisis.
Yes.
We saw this with the last Tsar of Russia, Nicholas II. I was just checking his biography. The last Shah of Persia, the same thing. I mean, even the last emperor probably of China. Like a lot of these major empires that fell is because yung last king nila or emperor nila ay indecisive. And when you're indecisive, you invite others to take the initiative. Either yung mga kakampi mo na aggressive, hawkish, or yung kalaban mo na mahinang tingin sa'yo, di ba? So in a way, we're not contradicting ourselves. We're saying precisely because of the indecisiveness or perceived indecisiveness of the president, he has invited these aggressive moves and counter moves, which has created this whole dynamic that now is kind of out of control, right? I think this is the fundamental argument we're making here.
Yes. Halimbawa, kung titignan mo si Speaker Martin 2 days ago, nung dumating si Nishida, anong kanyang statement? Very strong, di ba? No? Lalabanan ko kung sino man yung gustong umatake sa ating institusyon. So, yung kanyang projection, yung kanyang narrative, binabago niya from being Mr. Nice Guy to being Mr. Strong, Mr. Decisive Guy. Dahil alam niya may vacuum eh. Hindi sila pwedeng magmukhang wimpy. Kailangan nila magpalakas, no? Especially kung yung big boss is conflict avoidance. Diba? Kaya sinusubukan ni Martin, fill upan yung ganong klaseng vacuum. kung makikita mo yung kanyang narrative this past few days, no? Iba at yung mga kasama niya, stand up and be counted. Diba? I will lead you. Winawasak ang ating institusyon. Tapos nagteteka-teka tayo dito sa mga disloyal sa atin. Kailangan maging decisive tayo. Tanggal na yan. Diba? Tanggal na yan. With extreme prejudice. Yung pinalit, yung inaanak. Diba? Yun naman yung message. Halimbawa ni Martin Romualdez. I'm in control. Hindi mo pwedeng atakihin ang aking bahay. No? Kung ikaw ay walang loyalty sa akin, tanggal ka. No? So
yeah, the hammer came down. Thor is here. The Thor hammer is down. And you're right, it's not only US but the Japan now invested in the BBM administration, right? I mean, so you'll feel confident. Guess ko lang ngayon si Kishida, mamaya baka si Biden or Trump or
Japanese BFA, no?
Exactly.
Ang tanong ngayon, Christian, ang tanong ko sa iyo, anong tingin mo yung option ng China?
Richard Llamas. Richard Llamas na naman tayo.
Anong ban mo?
R,
capital R. Ako kasi small R lang eh. Capital R, anong tingin mo sa China? Anong magiging role nila rito? Parang nakasandal din sila sa pader eh. Di ba? Alam nila wala kinabukasan eh. Aalis na nga sa kwan eh. Belt and Road Initiative ang kwan eh. Ang Pilipinas. So tingin niya,
ako yun nag-announce nun.
Hindi na to pivot, di ba? So capital R, anong tingin mo rito, no? What will be the option of China? Lalo na yung kanilang mga kakampi are desperate na. No? Yung kanilang kaibigan, si GMA, si Duterte, at saka si Sara. No? Yan yung specialty mo, geopolitics eh. Ako, politics lang, walang geo.
Alam mo, Richard Llamas, itong stance ni Ronaldo Hidarian, okay? Itong stance ni Ronaldo Hidarian.
Small R.
Ako yung, so I hope hindi galit sa akin ng DFA or si BBM dahil I effectively said Philippines has pulled out of BRI. So that whole started when I wrote that article about itong statement by Secretary of Transportation Bautista na parang point niya, parang hindi naman interesadong China eh. We cannot wait forever. Yun yung term na ginamit niya. Ibig sabihin, sinasayang oras natin. Ibig sabihin, na Duterte tayo, di ba? So, BBM, and I had some friends in DFA saying, "Oy, si BBM di pumunta dun sa China." So I think there was a mistake in one versions of my article. Meron pa akong isa today, pledge trap, di ba? Ang tawag ko dyan, hindi debt trap, pledge trap kasi hanggang pledge lang. Wala namang dumating, so wala rin utang, pero walang dumating.
No, China won't take this sitting down, no?
They won't take this sitting down, but they're also not doing anything positively, right? They're just bullying us more and more in West Philippine Sea. They're just hoping Duterte keeps, parang sulsul strategy. May limitasyon yung sulsul strategy na yan. I think they think that through sulsul, they will make us succumb to them. What they don't understand is, ito na nga, andito na si Kishida, andyan na si Biden. Kung ikaw si BBM, you feel confident. You know what I'm saying? So I think the Chinese are not reading the situation very correctly here, no? And
or baka may ginagawa naman sila na hindi pa natin nakikita.
No, I'm sure they're doing things that, again, my point is, are they doing good things? All right? Of course, they're gonna do things. But ang point ko is, nagana ba yan? Di ba? I know what you're saying and you know that I know what you're saying. But my point is, nagana ba yan? Because hindi naman tanga yung mga kabila rin. Gets mo, the 6 years under Digong, actually I would say 3 years, because by 2019, after Reed Bank, wala na si Digong eh. He couldn't control na the China policy. Talagang nag-take over ang establishment because ang palpak nung nangyari sa Reed Bank, di ba? So I would say from 2016 to 2019, you know, Digong almost gave the Americans heart attack, di ba? Like, loko talaga to, di ba? And eventually, you know, so I think they learned the lesson na don't take Philippines for granted. This island is up for grabs. Hindi lang yung mga nasa West Philippines, the whole island. So I think some huge things are happening. But then again, my analysis is China smart enough to realize that they have to shift gears? My understanding is masyadong invested yung mga China boys na in charge of Philippines dun sa Duterte approach, which is clearly not working. And if they want to go crazy, well, guess what? Ready na yung kabila. So, yun nga yung point ko, Ronald. Parang, I just hope, I don't know about Tatay, but I hope yung China medyo matauhan sila na hindi malawang mga kausap nila dito. At maybe it's time for them. Because, Ronald, hindi ako hater sa China. I love their culture and civilization. I've had many Chinese good friends. You know me, back during your president's time, I said we should engage with China war. So I was never a China hater, or I bashed Duterte's China policy. Kumbaga, dahil kay Duterte, nasira ang China sa akin. Kasi, bakit naman umano dito? Hindi naman maasahan to eh. Parang ganun ang argument ko. I want China to treat us like they're treating Indonesia, like they're treating Singapore, di ba? They know that they're bigger, but di ka babastusin ng basta-basta. And tingnan mo naman si Jokowi, tingnan mo si Li Shenglu. Pag kinakausap yung China, may nangyayari, may investment na pumapasok, may mga kompromiso man nangyayari. Sa atin, parang kinakausap tayo, Banana Republic eh. Dahil kay Digong yan eh. So dapat ayusin natin. So I think they're still not realizing the Philippines is a bit less of a banana republic. Maybe, I don't know, kamote republic. Medyo mas matigas, di ba? Medyo may mas basis. So I think they're still going through that process, but they're not fast enough. They're not sharp enough.
Ang
But
problema,
they
Richard,
send that message. They need to shift
ang problema, the moment has passed. No? The moment has passed. At ikalawa, ang audience ng China is more their own population eh. No? Inward looking na sila eh. Lalo na with all their problems na nag-unravel ngayon, no? Yes, tinitignan nila tayo, pero ang main concern nila ay paano ma-appease yung kanilang sariling population na ito yung mga problema. So ang tingin ko sa kanila, mas magiging wolfish sila. No? Mas magiging wolfish sila towards the West Philippine Sea, towards Taiwan, no? Towards maraming bagay. No? Yun yung kaya we have to contend with that. No? Mahirap na tayong itrato like Indonesia. Mahirap na tayong itrato like at least in the next decade or so.
I want to end on this note because I think dahil hindi ko na record, let's finish this episode, go to the next, because the next episode I want to talk about Digong as opposition, like what's gonna happen there. But before we go there, maging exciting yan. Let's talk about this. We had, what's his name, Rafi Alunan, recently guest of our good friend on the other side, your he said something like baka magkakagyera na or something like that. Basta nakita ko yung thumbnail kasi namarites ko. Sino yung tinutukoy ni Ronald na dating DDS? Tapos ngayon, hindi ka ako ganun. Si Rafi Alunan pala yung tinutukoy mo. I thought something else. Wala na flag item ngayon talaga.
Paranoia is a two-edged sword, no? Baka akala ni Rafi na kikirahin na tayo ng China, nandito na yung PLA, ang dami ng spies na coming out of the woodwork, no? Ang akala niya ay he will become very relevant, no? Dahil naging irrelevant na siya ng panahon ni Digong eh. So, medyo nagpasabog siya, medyo nagbigay siya ng disruption. Pero dapat kasi yan based on solid evidence eh. Based on clear analysis. Katulad ng Big R, no, na nagsusulat sa Inquirer. Dapat ayusin naman. Wag lang yung masyado kang paranoid, di ba? Tapos bordering ka na on racism. Ayusin mo naman, no? Yun naman ang sinasabi ko.
Thank you so much, Richard Llamas, for that great analysis. Let's go to our next episode, which will be even more exciting. Masaya yung mga ex-unit team, saan pa sila pupunta except opposition? So I want to ask if you're opposition, matutuwa ka pa. Nabiglang sasali sila sa bus natin. Yung mga ganun. Alright, thank you so much. Maraming salamat.
Thank you.
Okay, to.